Hello, everybody. My name is Karryshh, and today, for the first time in forever, I have a Cambodian horror movie, The Night Curse of Reatrei. It was filled with jump scare, and it's one of the most scary films in Cambodia of 2024. We're going to see a story taking place in an orphanage, which was quite interesting, so stick till the end. If you're new here, then make sure to hit that subscribe button and like this video, because that's the only way I can grow and it doesn't cost you a penny. With that said, sit back and relax as I recap the movie, The Night Curse of Reatrei. So the movie begins with a woman named Reatrei who was blind. She was a music teacher in an orphanage where at night she was playing piano when she hears a radio in another room. She goes to check it out, thinking that another person who was out in the town for the night has returned, but that was not it. She then went to check the kids, but their room was awfully quiet. There were white balloons in the bedroom, and then Reatrei stepped on a bloodied knife. Soon she discovered that all the kids of the orphanage have been brutally murdered, and it was a carnage. It was then that a woman came and saw all that, with the Reatrei holding the knife. Obviously, the woman thought that the teacher killed the kids, and that's what she told the villagers, and they didn't waste a moment to tie Reatrei on top of a well. Then she was burned alive as a punishment, and her body fell inside the well. No one listened to a word she said. After this, we find out about the history of this place. The orphanage was built in 1980 especially for only 8 kids, the kids of the people who died in Cambodian war. Then in 1983, 7 out of 8 kids were brutally murdered by a music teacher named Reatrei, who was later on burned alive. After that, strange things happened around the orphanage, and that was why the place was abandoned. Now, a guy named Pang was reading all that stuff about that orphanage, and actually Pang himself runs an orphanage, but his place is getting renovated. It was soon made clear that the place was too dangerous for the kids to live in, and that was why Pang and his partner Dallin took the kids to that abandoned orphanage for a few days. However, there were only 4 kids. Everyone reaches that place and we see white balloons around it. Other than Pang and Dallin, a woman named Misai will also live in this orphanage who take care of those kids like a mother. Their driver and supplier was named Gekli, and the 4 kids are named as Saum, Fat, Nita, and Crew. They all knew about the murders of 1983, but this was their last resort. Now after settling down, Saum, Fat, and Nita play outside, but meanwhile, Crew finds that well in which Reatrei was punished. Crew felt a strange presence inside of that well, but then Misai came and she told her not to wander around. Then we see Pang, who was settling down in his new office when he finds a music box that belonged to Reatrei. There were photos from 1983 on a pinboard too, and something about the past of this place sparks the curiosity in Pang. At night, during dinner, Crew spots a white balloon outside, but when Misai looked, nothing was there. Crew wasn't really fond of this place, and to cheer Crew up, Pang gave her the music box he found. But as Crew gets the music box, she spots the spirit of Reatrei instead of the white balloon, which was creepy. Before sleep, Crew stares at that well, and she tells Misai that there's something wrong in this place, but Misai just calms her down and puts her to bed. However, when Misai goes down, she finds running water in the kitchen's overflowing sink. Misai instantly begins the cleaning process when suddenly she spots the white balloon outside the window. The balloon disappears moments later, but then someone knocked on the door. Misai answers the door, but there was no one outside but the white balloon. She brings the balloon inside and hands it by an old television, but as soon as she does that, the TV turned on by itself. It played a video of Reatrei from the past, but in the end of the video, Reatrei just looked in the camera and said that she gave everything to this orphanage, but in the end they treated her like nothing, and she did nothing wrong to deserve such fate. The TV turned off, and Misai feels a weird presence around her. Outside a window, she then spots the spirit of Reatrei, and then suddenly The spirit attacked her and the curtains loops around her neck and throws her outside. Misai crawls and somehow gets back to her feet, but then the evil spirit lifted her in the air and forces her to say Reatrei's name, after which the spirit possesses her. Back on crew who wake up at night and the door to the hallway opened by itself. There was a weird noise outside, so crew goes to investigate, during which she finds the white balloon and a turned on TV. The same video was playing, but then it shuts down and crew sees Misai. She goes near her cause Misai was just standing still, but then the TV lights up again and it makes a really creepy noise, after which possessed Misai turns and asks, in or out? Seeing that, crew screams and runs for her life, but Misai follow her. The lights flicker and the doors were locked, so crew couldn't get away for much long. She was stuck when suddenly evil Misai came running towards her, scaring her to hell and lifting her up in the air. Then Misai forced crew to take Reatrei's name, and when she did, the spirit possesses crew as well. Next day, Dallin finds Misai in the kitchen and the place was completely trashed. Misai was doing laundry, and when Dallin goes for a chat, suddenly an invisible force tries to drown Dallin. Dallin escapes, but Misai disappears, which scares her. Then Dallin finds Misai standing in front of a hot boiling soup, and once again, Dallin tries to chat with her, but this time possessed Misai grabs Dallin and she tries dipping her head into the hot pot of soup. Dallin tries her best to run away, and in the right moment, Pang came and he pushed Misai away. Misai then suddenly picks up a knife and she stabs Pang in his arm. This breaks into a fight where Pang tries to calm Misai, but she screams so loud that an earthquake destroys the entire kitchen before Misai finally falls unconscious. Something was wrong and then it was apparent. Now they put Misai on bed and Dallin bandages Pang's arm when Gekli arrives with some supplies and asks what happened, but Pang and Dallin doesn't tell him much, thinking it's for the best. Now Gekli, Dallin and Pang leaves the room, but soon Som, Fat and Nita arrives to check on Misai, where Nita sees Misai awake in the mirror while she was asleep in front of him. This scares Nita and then Misai scares Nita from her back. Nita ran away, but Som and Fat were left unaware from this incident. At night, Dallin checks on Crew cause she was in bed all day. Crew was really sick, but then later at night, Crew sits on her bed and then watches the well from her window. The lights flicker and we see Reatrei's spirit near Crew's bed. Now on Pang, who has a conversation with Gekli about 1983 murders. Gekli tells Pang to remove the old photos from the pinboard cause it was inappropriate. However, Pang thinks otherwise cause he was digging around and he discovers that there's little to no information about what really happened. Gekli explains that the music teacher murdered 7 kids and then she was burned alive and there wasn't much to the story. Gekli also points that Reatrei had a friend who's also in jail because after that incident one night she murdered her own daughter. However, something about this tells Pang that something is missing in this story. Now late at night, Dallin comes to check on kids and she spots Reatrei near that well with a white balloon. And that balloon suddenly appears behind Dallin, which scares her even more. Then Crew wakes up and asks Dallin who's that woman, but Dallin had no clue herself. Meanwhile, Pang was looking about this place's old employees, and Dallin now goes to check on Misai. She checks her bandages but also witnessed something weird happening inside of her. Dallin checks her eyes but they moved, scaring Dallin, and then suddenly Misai grabs her hand and throws her away. Misai then sits upright and Dallin realizes that the spirit of Reatrei was just near Misai. Suddenly Misai violently jumps on the bed and then on Dallin, grabbing her neck. She starts strangling her, but in the last moment Pang came and he saves Dallin, but in that hassle, Misai ran away. Misai goes in the kitchen, the piano plays itself The spirit of Reatrei makes Misai float above the dining table. Pang and Talon rushes to save Misai, but the demonic spirit ends up making a cupboard fall on Pang, and he gets stuck inside of it. The spirit then lets Misai fall, and Misai then begs for help when suddenly the spirit dragged Misai out of the kitchen. Jalin ran after her, but the spirit makes her levitate above the piano while Reatrei plays it before she lets Misai fall on it. She then dragged Misai upstairs, taking over her body, and captures Soam. Misai then threatens everyone with something sharp at Soam's neck, but at the same time, Misai was trying to resist this possession. Everyone tells Misai to calm down, and Misai was able to let Soam go, and she was resisting the possession hard. However, the evil spirit didn't let her go, because in the end, Reatrei throws Misai down the stairs, and she died instantly after falling. The next day, cops take Misai away, and everyone was sad. Crew was still crying in bed, and Pang and Dalin goes to comfort her. In the backyard, Soam and Fetch were crying too when Nita spots a white balloon above the well. She goes after that balloon as it travels and takes Nita on top of a roof of some structure, but the ground beneath broke, and Nita fell into a mysterious basement. Soam and Fat runs to get help, but that place was creepy. Nita finds the white balloon inside of it too, and behind it, she finds a white dress that belonged to Reatrei, and that dress was nailed into a wooden wall. There was something evil down there with Nita, and then suddenly, everything around her starts shaking. The balloon swells up and explodes, splashing blood all over Nita. She screams, but then Pang arrives to save her, and the horror disappears. Dalin breaks the door to that place, and the two comfort Nita, but no one knew about this basement. Pang there finds a box full of videotapes, and Dalin figures out that there's a mystery hidden in this room, after which at night, Dalin and Pang sits down and watch those videos. Meanwhile, Crew wakes up and she finds a message tied to a white balloon which states, "I want what I don't have." Then the bedroom door slid open and Crew goes out. Back on the videos, the first one plays and we see a possessed girl named Song who was tied inside that basement. She was possessed by Reatrei, and some people were trying to get rid of Reatrei's curse in order to save Song. To do that, a priest nailed Reatrei's dress in that wooden wall, which was promising because that dress on the wall was then linked to Reatrei's spirit, but it couldn't end the curse. The curse will only end when Reatrei will get what she wants. Now in the second video, a guy named Limpat interviews Song, and we find out that she's the 8th kid who was left alive after the massacre. Song states that since the music teacher killed her friends, she sees white balloons around the house, and the Reatrei spirit was then haunting her. The villagers concluded that Reatrei wants all 8 children, and that was why she's back to claim the last soul. In the third video, Song was really stressed because Reatrei had murdered her cat, and now she was having bad visions. After seeing all this, Pang and Dalin concludes that Misai was also affected by Reatrei's curse, and that white dress may help him control that spirit. But then in the fourth video, Song was completely possessed. Limpat goes near her, but Song attacks and stabs him. Seeing this, Dalin and Pang decides to leave this place as soon as possible. Meanwhile, following the balloons, Crew comes out of the building and gets another message that said, "What you have, what is that?" It means they were random messages that were indicating that Reatrei wants something. Back on videos, Song now gouge out her eyeballs, screaming that Reatrei wants her eyes. Then Limpat go and try to stop the girl, but Song ends up gouging out Limpat's eyeballs too. Meanwhile, Crew follows the balloon and goes inside the basement, where she couldn't believe her eyes because the entire place was stuffed with white balloons. There she finally comes face to face with the Reatrei, who suddenly grabs Crew and screams that she needs answers. Crew shouts for help, and her holler was heard by Pang and Dalin. The two instantly rushes to help her, and inside the basement they find Crew, who was just standing. Suddenly paranormal activity occurs and Crew disappears. Something was wrong, and now Pang and Dalin look for Crew in that little space. Dallin finds Crew behind the stairs, hiding in the dark, but as Dallin approaches her, she attacked on Dallin. Pang hits Crew away, but then Crew picks up a hammer and attacks back on Pang. The two fights, and Crew was gaining the upper hand when suddenly Dallin picks up a nail and she slammed that nail into the white dress's arm cuff. Whatever she did worked, cause then Crew screamed in pain. Dallin then slammed the nail near the dress's collar, and Crew felt like someone was strangling her before she fainted. Next day, Crew was on bed, and Pang was researching about how to heal Crew. Dallin helps in the search, and the two surprisingly finds the address of Limpat, the reporter from the videos, and maybe he can help. Pang then goes to meet with Limpat, but his car broke down. Luckily, Gekli came and he offered Pang a ride. Gekli and Pang together go to meet with Limpat, and we see that his eyes are gone since that incident from the video. After a while, Song also comes there, and we find out that Limpat adopted Song after she lost her eyes. When Song finds out that their guests are talking about 1983 murders, she just leaves to avoid her PTSD. Anyway, Limpat then tells Pang everything he knows. Actually, you see, Reatrei's spirit possesses people for a reason, which is she wants to know something. Limpat reveals that the person who born the curse of Reatrei with that white dress also revealed that Reatrei was innocent and she did not commit those murders. That's why Reatrei's spirit is seeking revenge, but first she wants to know who is the actual murderer. She possesses a person and tried to find that out, but when she couldn't, she takes the person's eyes so that the person can feel her pain. To stop the curse, Pang must find the actual killer. Now with this information, Pang and Gekli were leaving when Limpat came and gave some photos he took near the house during his research. The photo was of a person, but it was too blurry. However, according to Limpat, he has seen a strange person roaming around the orphanage at night, and he just knows that this person in the blurry photo is actually the murderer. Now at night, Dallin goes to check on Crew when lights flicker and then suddenly Crew defies gravity, screams, and attacks on Dallin. She flipped all the beds, knocks Dallin out, and runs away. Hearing the clamor, Som and Fat go to see what happened, but meanwhile Nita was left alone. Soon lights flicker and Nita spots evil Crew standing nearby. Nita asks if everything is okay, but then demonic Crew attacks on Nita, and Nita ran to save her life, and she locks herself in a room. Nita stays in that room until everything gets silent outside. Nita then slowly comes out of the room to check what was happening, but then Crew grabbed her neck, fixed her up in the air, and the evil spirit of Reatrei tries to possess Nita. On the other hand, Som and Fat wakes up Dallin, and she locks the boys in the room and rushes to save others. She couldn't find Nita and Crew in the house, but she found Nita in that basement, unconscious. Dallin tries to wake Nita up when evil Crew comes behind her, and she used her powers to throw Dallin away. Crew then attacks on Dallin and she beats the shit out of her, but in the end, Dallin opens up the music box Crew really liked. The music brought about the innocence of Crew out for a while, and she comes out of the possession falling unconscious. On the other hand, Pang and Gekli arrive back at the orphanage, and Pang was unloading the car when suddenly he finds a photo of Reatrei and her friend from 1983. There was also some things that only a killer would possess, which finally clears the air, and Pang understands that Gekli the supplier was the man who murdered the kids. However, Gekli sensed that coming, and that was why he attacked on Pang with an axe, and the two starts fighting, which ended up with Pang getting stabbed. Back in the basement, Crew wakes up and she finds Dallin and Nita huddled up together. Since Crew was normal, she comforts the two, and then they were about to leave that place when Reatrei's spirit came back and grabs Crew, telling her that she wants her eyes. However, suddenly Crew and Reatrei slips into a vision, and they find themselves in the room where murders happened in 1983. And here, Reatrei's spirit look through Crew's eyes. The two witness Gekli, the killer who has murdered all the kids, and he was about to do bad things with Reatrei's old friend. It was the time when Reatrei entered the room but Gekli escaped by the window, and Ratrei's friend just quietly left the room because she knew that if she didn't do that, then the blame of everything would go on her, and that was why she left her Ratrei so she can be blamed for all this. Crew and Ratrei then slipped out of the vision, and finally, Ratrei knew who the killer was, and it all happened because Crew knew Gekli already, and since she was close to Gekli, so Ratrei's spirit used her mind and eyes to see the truth of Gekli, which turns out really bad. Now outside, Pang and Gekli were about to end that war, where Gekli was about to kill Pang with that axe, but he couldn't. Cause then come Ratrei's spirit and she gets a hold of him. She hovers above the well with Gekli, and Gekli cries for help and cries for forgiveness, but it's not gonna happen. Finally, Reatrei kills Gekli and throws his body inside that well, taking her revenge and finally lifting up the curse. The next day, everyone who survived was off to that haunted place, which is weird because now the place was safe to live. Anyway, Crew returned Reatrei her music box by the well, and everyone prays for her peace, and this is where this movie ends. So this was the recap video on the movie The Night Curse of Reatrei, and I hope you have liked it. If you have, then please subscribe the channel and like this video. I really need your support to grow further. If you wanna watch the movie, there's a link to my Telegram channel where I share movie links every now and then, so go subscribe there. I'm mostly active on Insta, so you can follow me there as well. And look into my other channel where we discuss about the mysteries of the world. All the links are in the description box. For now, I'll see you all in the next one. Till then, stay awake, because they always see you.